Hi, everyone, and welcome to Marketing Corner, episode 96.
Yeah, let's go. Boom, boom.
I don't know what that was.
It's very boomerish.
Yes, thank you very much. Yes, thank you. Casper, Happy New Year.
Likewise.
Thank
Good
you
to
very
see
much. Yeah, likewise. In your beautiful studio. Every time I come in here, it changes. It's like Narnia.
And there's like, every time you come in here, it's like new people.
There's new people. There's more people. It's packed today.
Yeah. It's a lot of people today.
Yeah.
It's good.
It's a good sign. Good sign.
I'm
Good
not
vibes here at
complaining. Good vibe.
Sparkle Horse.
Yeah.
Good vibes at Sparkle Horse. Good
Sparkle Horse
Christmas.
is sticking around. We have stickers with Sparkle Horse now.
Yeah.
We made that a thing.
My daughter took a stack of them and I gave her a sticker book and she just put them all on top of each other. So there's like a big wad of Sparkle Horse featuring in the sticker book. So
I'm not against it. Just let me know if she needs more.
She always needs more. Anyway, good Christmas, good New Year.
Yes. Yeah, I took a bit of a real break.
What?
I haven't had a break in a while, so and I was just realizing I haven't posted on LinkedIn in like almost 2.5 weeks or something. Like for someone like me, that's crazy.
That is insane.
But I did break it today and posted for the first time. Now
Are you and LinkedIn in a fight? Are you guys okay?
No, we're okay.
You're okay now? You found your way back to each
it's
other?
on and off. It's like
Ross
soft
and
break.
Rachel?
Yeah.
It's a Ross and Rachel.
No, but I had a really nice break. I needed it. It was the good thing about one of the things that, like in an agency, like typically you're off when the clients are off. So over Christmas, all the clients are off.
Yeah, that's nice.
So that means, of course, there's always stuff to do, but it's actually been quite nice. So I've enjoyed it.
Nice.
What about you?
Yeah, I've ended my maternity leave in style. So we did Thailand and then all of December just hanging out, eating food. I did it. I bought the kids a VR headset.
What?
Yeah, I got a PlayStation VR headset used, and we got Fruit Ninja. Fruit Ninja in VR. You guys, it's awesome. I love me some fruit. 2025 is a lot of Fruit Ninja. And I'm going to have like one arm really strong because you can only use one arm at a time. But that was fun. We did a lot of that and just didn't get out of our pajamas for like a month. I was really excited for school to open up again. I don't know about you, but the routine.
Dropping off the kids. Woo, love him, but breastfeeding
love
the world.
you. Bye.
Yeah, bye.
See you in
Take
8
care.
hours.
Please, grown-ups, take care of my kids.
Someone else take care of my kids for a change.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, we're back in 2025 with a
Yes.
doozy. I think we've got a really good one. And the way we came up with this topic, at least for myself, was I was in a B2B marketing community chat and everyone was asking about this. What is it? How should we prepare for it?
Yeah.
And so I thought we could kick off 2025 with talking about GEO.
Yeah. What does that stand for again?
Generative Engine Optimization.
Yeah. And if you haven't guessed it already, it's very closely related to search engine optimization.
It's the evolution of the
it's
SEO.
The next level. It's like an upgrade.
Yes,
Yeah.
very much. To kind of, it's again, we talk about this all the time, but it's how the world around us is adapting to AI, right?
Yes.
Everything is changing. It has to adapt. I heard on a podcast the other day, AI is not going to be a feature anymore. It's the standard.
Yeah.
So this is how does SEO adapt to this new world of AI and generative?
Yeah, and let's take an example of one of our clients. I was actually looking at the other day. I can't remember if it was exactly 10, maybe it was 8%, but around 8 to 10% of all their inbounds in Q4 had ChatGPT or ChatGPT as a source.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's already happening.
Already happening.
It's already happening. There's not a ton of information, at least what I could find, of what to really do. This is more experts and agencies saying this is what we advise you to do.
Yeah.
Because it's sort of unlike a lot of algorithmic stuff, right?
Yes.
And we'll talk about the evolution from SEO to GEO, but this is sort of happening organically in a way of like Google, for example, is implementing AI for search. So when you search for things now, you get like an AI response right at the top.
Yes.
So this is kind of happening without marketers forcing it, if
Yes.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
But now it's time for us to start being proactive and making sure we show up there instead of just like those blog posts we wrote to be SEO optimized showing up.
Yeah.
Like now we have to purposely do GEO optimized.
Yeah, and I think one important thing. So the thing I might piss off a few SEO experts out there now, but SEO is probably the discipline that has always been shrouded the most in mystic.
Yeah.
Because like you've never been. How exactly do you rank on Google?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it's like 50, 200 different factors, and don't get me wrong, there are some like things that always say true, but but that part, how do you rank, has always changed. And I feel like with GEO, it's gonna be a little bit more like taking a step back when it comes to that. It's like we finally came to a point where like we couldn't say everything about SEO, but at least we had an idea of what worked, and now we're back to like, how do we actually do this?
Exactly.
Like there's a few things, indicators, that's what we're going to talk about, but it's a little bit back to scratch. It's a little bit like a black box again.
Exactly. And that's what I think for us to start this episode is like, we don't have the definitive answer of how you rank, but this is what
we're
the
seeing.
experts are suggesting is the way you rank.
Yeah.
So let's first start maybe talking about SEO.
Yes.
And then the kind of transition and what I don't know whether they're called GEO or...
Let's call it GEO.
GEO and SEO.
GEO and SEO.
Okay.
GEO and SEO, good buddies.
Yeah, pals. It sounds like brothers. It sounds like bougie, noble parents calling their kids, oh, SEO, GEO. Anyway, back at the top. So, search engine optimization, that was how we basically did traditional SEO, looking at search engine algorithms. It's very algorithmic, understanding the algorithm as much as we possibly could.
Let's ask a question. So, like, how did you, on Armando, how did you guys work with SEO? How did you, did you incorporate it into the content you produced? How did you work with it?
Yeah, so we definitely, when I joined the company, they hadn't done much for SEO. They were writing content, but they weren't doing it with SEO in mind. So we were a little behind because it takes a while for that to kick in. But then when we doubled down on it, we looked at, obviously, content, relevant keywords, high intent keywords within that content, but also the kind of technical SEO, the behind the scenes, the meta tags and building backlinks and buying backlinks, and all of that, which, spoiler alert, not really going to be a thing anymore as far as I can tell.
It's going to be different at least, right?
Yeah. So we did it sort of, yes, the content, we didn't really change the content a ton, but we focus a lot on the technical stuff on our website and stuff like that. How about yourself and your...
Yeah,
career?
I think so. One thing is what we do for clients and stuff today, but I think going back to when I was at United FinTech or Templify or some of those places, I think in United FinTech, we bought backlinks. So we had a whole content strategy that we tied up to these classic SEO pillars, like content pillars.
Yes.
So we developed these for everyone who doesn't know, it's like you pick a topic pillar. So let's say you want to talk about, I don't know, content marketing, and then that's your pillar, and then everywhere so content marketing tactics or content marketing tools, and that would be like a sub page that would refer back to the pillar page, right?
Exactly.
So this pillar strategy is very classical SEO thing. That's what I did. I did a lot of that. And then we bought backlinks, outsourced that part, had other people help support us with links and such. And then we did all the technical SEO. So those were if you imagine 3 legs, then maybe you had the technical SEO, then you had the whole content production around those pillars, and then we had the backlink buying.
Right, yeah.
And I think what's changing now is 1 and 3. So, all of them. But at least from my perspective, where the whole technical SEO, it's not completely changing, but it doesn't care as much anymore because it's way more contextual.
Yes.
So those making sure the H1s and stuff. Don't get me wrong. I'm not at a point, or I don't feel confident saying that you should stop doing those things. I don't think we can say that affirmatively now.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it feels like it's becoming less relevant.
Yes.
So that's one part, and then let's do the last one, and then there's the back building or back link building part. I also feel because what GEO is, and the hardcore difference is also it's very much more contextual. So it looks at more does this make sense? What's the context here? Or what you're saying? Does that? So it doesn't need as many. Before, when you ranked, it was based on the links would help determine if you were credible or not.
Yes.
Right. The links were kind of like Google's way of saying, hey, do we believe this is real or not? These guys know if 1,000 people are linking to them, then it's probably right.
And you think, and the reason for that, right, is to understand the business model of Google is they want to have the most relevant search. So they look at rankings to see, is this legit? Is this something that people who search for this are finding interesting? That's the business model of Google is, will people read this? So that's what they're looking at. Yeah.
And here, as far as I understand it, what AI, ChatGPT or AI in general, these LLMs will be able to do, or is able to do, is essentially go in and evaluate the context of what you're saying, and then hold it up against the rest of the database of what that database is saying. So it becomes less about who's linking it, but more about how many are actually saying the same.
Exactly.
And I think overall, I think that's a good thing. I just want to point that out. But that's also very different because like just that backlinking industry is massive.
Yes.
If you never invested in it, holy moly. There's a lot of people who make careers and companies and
Absolutely.
billionaires.
Yeah, I mean, how
just
many?
from that.
I think everyone listening probably has received some kind of email unsolicited, like we buy backlinks, we will sell. You know, we will
Exactly.
do that for
it's
you.
a huge industry, right?
Yeah.
And that to some extent seems to be going away a bit,
Mm-hmm.
which I'm happy about. to be
Yeah,
honest.
I think it was something that we played the game. You know,
Mm.
this is the game we had to play. We marketers, of course, as we always say, marketing people ruin everything. But this was, okay, this is how we game the algorithm. This is how we fool with it. This is how we trick it, basically.
Yeah.
I think a lot of that is now going away because, as you said, it's all about context. So what you're not going to see anymore is like if you search for what to do in New York City, it would be Central Park and there'd be a blue hyperlink, right?
Yes.
And then something underneath. And then it would say Pizza Parlor, Statue of Liberty, or whatever it would
Yes.
be, and that's because those people have worked really hard to rank for this search term.
Yeah.
But now what you'll see is like, hey bestie, here are some really cool spots that you should check out in New York.
Yeah.
If you're into the Statue of Liberty, you should go here. If you're hungry, so it's going to be more of a conversational response with multiple links in there, and it's how do we make sure that our site is in there.
And it's gonna be more it's gonna be more suggestive, if that makes sense. Where like today you get like when you get a whole page, let's say, don't get me wrong, it's really important to rank as number one, but technically if somebody's searching for something, they could look at the whole page of search results. That's not going to happen in the same way. Like it's not like you don't get it. You could tell the AI to list me 10 things, but if you don't tell it, it will probably list you 2 or 3.
Yeah.
It would be like, hey, so being the number one referenced spot is super important.
Yes.
That's also when I brought up the example from that client, without saying who it is, but it's one of the bigger ones, and that makes sense because they've been around in the market for a lot of years with huge marketing budgets, spend a lot of content on all this stuff. That makes sense that they are the ones that get referenced, and so it becomes a little bit. I hate to say this, but it feels a little bit like the winner takes it all. If that makes sense. Like it's been a bit like this for a few years in SEO in general, but I feel it's even more with GEO. It's going to be more like, if you win that search, then you win it.
Yeah, because
like,
there's not like a page 2.
There's not a page 2, exactly, right?
Yeah.
Not that many people went there, but that's completely out now.
That's one of those jokes that they say, like, this is very American, but Jimmy Hoffa, he was like someone who disappeared. It's like, where is he buried? On page 2 of Google, because no one looks there. Like, no one has any idea what's over there. So let's talk a little bit. I have a little table here where we talk about the differences between traditional SEO and now the GEO. So first is the focus on optimization. So traditional SEO, right, was keyword density, backlinks, meta information to improve your ranking. So basically game the algorithm. That was hard to say. Whereas GEO, it's going to be on content quality, the relevance, the ability to answer specific questions that people are going to have. You're probably going to have people saying, can you recommend for me? Whereas before it was places in New York.
Yes.
So how do you optimize for AI engines to pick that up?
Yeah.
And when it comes to keywords, again, keyword density, keyword search, putting it in specific places, and then making sure that the headings and the subheadings and everything else and canonicals, and it was all about, again, gaming the algorithm. How do you make it look like it has authority? Now it's going to be under GEO, it's more natural language, using the LLM, understanding the large language model to make sure that it understands what you're trying to say.
Yes.
Should I keep going? Or
Keep going. No, I think it's great. Like,
just chill. No, let me know. Jump in if there's anything I'm missing. When it comes to content creation, right? Again, you're making your content based on keywords. You're making, and one of the things you were saying before we recorded is like, when you look up content marketing, it's like you hear the word content marketing is this and content marketing is that. And, how many times?
It's a classic, it's not as much a thing anymore, but it very much used to be a thing. It was something called keyword stuffing, right?
Yeah, just shove it in there.
And if you've never heard of the term before, I can promise you've definitely read an article that was keyword stuffed. And essentially because back in the day, and then when I say back in the day, this for me is at least 10 years ago or something. That's Google really cared that if you search for a keyword, it had to show up a lot.
Everywhere. Yeah, that's how it knew this is what they're talking about.
Yeah,
so what did we do? What did marketing people do?
We just put it everywhere.
We ruined it because we would shove that word everywhere.
You literally had like tools, and the tools would analyze how many times the keyword in mention was being mentioned on your page.
Yeah, and that's how it gave the rank.
Yeah, exactly.
This says a lot, use that. But then what they started to do about, I think it was like 8 years ago or something, was they penalized you for doing that.
Yes.
So they caught on that we were doing that. So then they penalized you. So then you had to find other ways through backlinks, to show that you have authority in this. And the way that you did that was other people linking to you. And that's where, okay, now because marketing people ruin everything, we had this niche cottage industry pop up of buying backlinks or, trading backlinks. Again, if you got caught, you were in deep shit, but it was really hard to get caught.
And at least for me, and maybe it's just because you and I are not that much into this compared to other things, but it feels like people haven't really figured out how to game the system yet. The new GEO hasn't been I don't feel like anyone's cracked it.
Not yet. We'll figure it out.
Maybe I haven't heard of it. Maybe that's just me, but I haven't figured out yet. But of course, that will also happen, just like other things, and hopefully that adjusts at some point. Right?
Exactly. And when it comes to content creation, as you mentioned, again, content based on keywords as opposed to engaging content that actually answers questions in a conversation. And that's the big difference is algorithmic keywords, density, we'll say density, not stuffing, versus a conversation.
I think that's interesting because one of the things that was going on in SEO is that in the beginning, and again, I'm generalizing a little bit here, but in the beginning, it was very focused on keywords, right? Like you would say content marketing. Yeah. And then as we became more and more advanced within SEO and people started to learn, then it started to become like, okay, so the keyword might be content marketing, but actually what you're optimizing for is what's the best use of content marketing. So you actually used a search like a question. Right. And then you optimize towards that question. And I think with GEO, it's all on the question. It's becoming way more, it's less, but there's not, yes, there's some sort of keyword resemblance still, don't get me wrong, but it's way more about the actual question. Yes. Like what you're trying to solve. And so as far as I understand, it's going to be less about the keywords and more about, as you try to say, what's the output? What is it you really want? Yeah, because the LLM is going to understand what you're asking. Exactly. And I'm going to give you something based on what you're asking as opposed to, what we used to do, right, is content management. Yeah. Search. And then you a bunch of articles. Whereas now you're going to say, where can I find the best content marketing agency or techniques or tips? And it's going to read the whole question and it's going to try to find something. Exactly. And that leads into, technology again, like instead of using tracking rankings and backlinks, it's using the machine learning algorithms to predict the context of what you're trying to say. It's understanding the whole question. And last, definitely not least, is the user experience, right? Yes. So it used to be about speed. That's part of site speed was a huge thing, right?
Huge, yeah, and that was one of the reasons our web developer, one of his main tasks was to constantly monitor the web speed, because if it got slow, we knew we would drop. So it's responsiveness and better using navigation, right? How is it ranked on the page? Now we're going to quality content that actually answers the question you're asking.
And this part is so interesting to me because this is the part I'm like, is this good or bad? I can't really determine because so here's my take. So what's gonna happen is that because actually I think it was a good thing that we optimized for site speed and mobile responsiveness and stuff because sometimes you would search for stuff on Google and then you're just it sounds just alright, and then you would click on it that's 10 seconds of loading, and then you get to a page there's a WordPress from 95 and
or PDF or
it
something.
Might say the right word,
Netscape.
But Jesus Christ, come on, right?
And I don't want to wait for
that.
So
I actually think the move there just made the internet experience better. Yeah. But now it seems like the ChatGPT or AI in general, I just say ChatGPT wants to move a little bit away from that, and what we're gonna see moving away from that because they're gonna feed the answers inside the search you're doing. What has been happening as well in SEO is also that you would have these search queries, and then you have the SERP. Right. We call it, right?
Yeah, the SERP. Yep.
And then that would kind of answer your question without ever leaving Google. Right?
Yes.
You never. Yeah. So we always call it a lot of no-click searches. So you would have in the past you would always click on a link hey, you search for content marketing, you take the first link. Now these days if you search for let's say content marketing, maybe this definition of content marketing, then I don't need to click anything.
Exactly.
I got it. Yeah. And that whole thing will be much more of a thing, I believe, in GEO, because you won't have to leave the actual engine or
and that's actually that's a really good point. That's not something I thought of before, but also when it comes back to attribution, right?
Yes.
You're not gonna, as a marketer, right? If someone's
this is super hard.
Yeah, I need an agency that's really good at B2B marketing, and something can pop up saying Sparkforce is really good, but there's not going to be a link.
Nope.
Then they would have to go.
Not be a link.
There might not be a link because right now what you're seeing in Google, right? If I say point me out some B2B marketing
Yeah.
agencies, it'll just say the names.
Yes.
It won't hyperlink those right now. So then they would go direct, right? So that would be a direct traffic. So you won't actually know that it came
The
through
ones we
Google.
spotted here, some of it we could track in Google Analytics
You
for that
could.
client. Some of it we
Okay.
could, but most of it was pure self-reported attribution.
Right.
So they would say it themselves. Hey, I found it on ChatGPT.
So that's a hot take for marketers, is maybe start looking into self-reported attribution in a world of geo, because otherwise you're not going to know.
We've been talking about it for ages, and it's not.
Yeah. We ran an
Keep
experiment.
it running.
Yeah, we ran
Yeah.
an experiment. We did not see a drop in conversions when we asked
No.
people how you heard about us.
No,
And
just do it.
actually, when we looked at that, we saw that 25% discrepancy
Yeah.
between what our system said and what the person said.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
there you go, kids. All right, so we're getting near the end. So some of the key elements for
Yeah.
GEO is AI-powered content creation.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of this, and this is also comes into cons. In the cons for me, which we'll
Yeah.
talk about at the end, the pros and cons of this, but using ChatGPT, Jasper AI to create the content that is optimized for GEO. Now that's the easy way around it,
Yeah.
but then
I don't
you
think
run
you
into,
need to do that, to be completely honest,
Yeah.
right now. I think it's just it just sounds awful, but I think you just produce good content, and like it doesn't need to be written by AI for AI to pick it up. That's not what I'm seeing and hearing, at least.
But you can, if you wanted to, you could put
Yes.
something into the tool and
that's
say
true.
optimize this
Yeah, that's true.
for
Yeah,
search
yeah.
query,
Yeah.
this kind of search query, and so it
No,
could
that's
be
a good
used.
point. Yeah.
It doesn't say you have to, but it can be.
No, yeah.
And
yeah.
we'll talk about that in the cons later. Intent matching, again, as we said, it's context. It's what is the best, blah, blah, blah. So it needs to make sure that your content says, we are the best, blah, 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 so that when people ask that, you pop up. So it has to be about your intent, matching the intent. Dynamic keywords. You do still have to have some keywords, obviously, to make sure that you show up. But again, long tail keywords, semantic phrases, hopping on trends and how people say stuff also is something to keep in mind, because, again, you have to guess what people will say to make sure you can pop up.
Yes.
Content personalization, right, to audience segments and things like that, because, again, it's all about intent. Try to figure out what people are looking at. And, so those are kind of the key elements of what it is.
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about the pros and cons before we end today's episode.
Yeah, definitely. I think for me the biggest pro about this move is from a user point of view. And from a user point of view is that the intent behind what you're looking for will get closer to what you're being served.
Mm-hmm.
So what that I mean is and that's always been the goal of Google and other platforms, is that to get you closer to what you're actually searching for.
Exactly.
And I think this is going to be better. So
Yeah.
I'm really excited about that. I think you have an opportunity, if you're as a marketeer, if you leap onto this, it's that classic saying I always have, like, whenever LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever comes with a new format, jump on it. I
Try
don't care
it,
if it's good or if it's for you or whatever, jump on that format, because they're going to boost the shit out of it.
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit
True.
the same principle here. Whereas,
Yeah.
like, this is so new and nobody really knows what they're doing. Some people definitely do, but most people don't know what they're doing. So if you're the one to jump on it within your industry, boom, that might be insane.
Yeah.
So treat it as a new format.
Well, it's kind of like SEO, right? Like
Yeah.
I said earlier, like we didn't invest in it, so we were super behind.
Yeah.
Right? So start investing in it now, so that when, I guess, it kind of feels like they're trying to figure that out too.
Yes.
Like, how's this going to work? So by the time they figure it out, hopefully you've already got your stuff ranking in a way that the AI can pick it up.
Yeah.
I agree with you on the, I think I don't want to go into the cons too much, but it's a little mini, like, orange flag of working with how people speak, because I think there is still going to be a gap of, we'll cut that out. I think there could be a gap in because, again, you are trying to optimize for someone's search. That doesn't necessarily mean that this is all the options available in the whole world based on your search. So there's still that.
Yeah.
There are still going to be winners and losers in this. But yeah, I think it's definitely going to be more user friendly. So you're going to get, again, it's for the user, as you said. The user's going to get more relevant information, because you could get several different recommendations.
Yeah.
Instead of the first one, the second one, the third one, it's going to be like a paragraph with different options for you. So you're
I
going to
think
get.
I think it's also going to be, like I said, like this winner takes it all approach. And that's, for me, good and bad. Like the con side of that is that it can be a little bit brutal, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're in a, let's say, content marketing or content marketing software, let's say that.
Yeah.
So million gazillion tools out there. Well, there's gonna be one that's gonna show up, right?
Yeah, one maybe two, right?
One maybe
It'll be-
two,
yeah.
right? Or limited amount, right? So I think this will kill a few companies.
I think it's going to make people lazy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
It's going to
exactly.
make, because we used to have to, like, when you search for content marketing,
Yeah.
right? You would get 10, suggestions on
Yeah.
one page, and then you'd have 60 pages, but you could kind of go through and be like, they're not in my area, or
Yeah.
I don't know, you could kind of, you had to do a little bit of work,
Yeah.
right, to find what you wanted. And sure, maybe that was annoying, and Google's trying to solve that, and that's what AI is supposed to solve, but it will make us really lazy of like, oh, this is the first thing that came up. That's what I'm going to go with. I'm going to grab it.
Roll with it. Yeah,
I'm not going to do any of my
exactly.
own research. I'm not going to do my own due diligence. So that's I think we've strayed into the cons, so we can talk a little bit about that. So, again, also, I get nervous when I hear AI creating content.
Yeah, exactly, right? Because like I think it's about quality, right?
Mhm.
Like so essentially also because what's happening is that you're not since it's a little bit of a black box.
Yeah.
That means that the engine, let's call it an engine in this case, will grab, or the LLM will grab the data from your site, and then they will rework it in their language in the LLMs. It won't necessarily just grab it word for word.
Right.
So let's say you search for B2B marketing agency, and then you say like what is ABM, and then we have a page on SparkForce that talks about ABM. It goes in and then it references SparkForce, but might not quote us correctly.
Right. Yeah.
And that's the danger, right? Because I can't control that. How do I
No, you
control
can't
that
control it.
I'm being quoted right?
Yeah.
And that I feel like that's at least something that's on my radar, or something to be. I don't know how to solve it at all. But,
No.
but
And
that's what I'm
that's-
worried about a little bit.
Yeah, 100%. And I think when you talk a little bit about quality, also like AI writing everything, because again, some people are lazy. They're just going to say, write this and optimize it for GEO. But the other thing that you have to think about, again, we marketers, we ruin everything over optimization.
Yeah.
So you could maybe, in theory, have a blog that's like, where should I go for the best this? What should I do here? Like, it could just be a series of questions, series, and it won't be natural because you're just trying to capitalize on what people are searching for in the way that they would search for it,
Definitely.
rather than writing something that flows.
Exactly.
Over dependence on AI
Yeah.
makes me a little nervous. Again, makes people lazy. And then I guess there's ethical concerns, right? Because you don't actually know. You have no control.
No, just
So because someone could rank for SparkForce sucks, and then that's what could pop up, right? You
Exactly.
don't. Anything is possible because it's such a black box. So
Exactly. And
yeah.
that's the part where I feel less in control than I have been before, at least.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we will be less in control.
Agreed.
And then I guess one of the last ones we talked a little bit about is job roles.
Yes.
SEO experts and stuff, adapt or die.
I'm not too worried about that. I know, like, because like again, it's a black box, and like these roles are already a black box. If you get it, you get it, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, I think sometimes people are overdoing how big of an impact this will have.
I think it's important though that they have to adapt.
Yes.
If you're a
I
SEO
agree.
expert, a SEO agency, you need to start
need to
adopting
adapt.
GEO. You have to adapt or die.
Yes.
And then I worry also about like content writers. Are people going to dump everything in, ChatGPT and just see what they come up with? So, if you're in any of these roles, start looking into this now. Start becoming a GEO expert, not a SEO expert.
Yes. Agreed.
Cool.
All right. Thank you for
Anything
listening.
else?
I don't have anything else.
Yeah.
I think we're over time too.
Yeah,
So-
we're getting close. It's just it's a complex topic, and at the end of the day,
a lot
we
of
also
us.
don't know. We're just
I
guessing
think
here.
it's always funny when we talk about these topics where I know a lot, and probably more than most people, but I definitely don't feel super confident in something.
We're not
like this.
experts.
We're not experts on this, any of us, right?
No.
I've done some experiments, but it's very quite limited.
Yeah.
So time will tell. But let's this is probably a topic we'll come back to in a few months and see what's
see where we're at. I'm sure it's going to keep evolving.
Yeah,
as with
2025
everything.
is going to be interesting around this one.
Yeah, absolutely. So tune in for that one.
Yeah.
And and make sure you just adapt. Start adapting now.
Adapt or die.
Adapt or die.
Good. Thanks
All
for
right,
listening.
Thanks. Bye.